Good morning. This committee will come to order. Chair Powell, thank you for being with us today. I appreciate your willingness to have a chat with us about some of the really important issues facing our country. Without question, the Federal Reserve serves a critical role in the function of our government and the global economy. You have the ability to influence markets and directly impact the financial future of hundreds of millions of Americans. That is why the Federal Reserve is supposed to be an independent institution free from politics. But in recent reality, the Fed has been susceptible to political pressure. Take, for example, the Fed's involvement in the Network for Greening the Financial System, a group dedicated to green financing and climate change, which the Fed joined in December 2020 as President Biden was about to assume office. Just last month, the Fed announced that it had pulled out of the organization as President Trump was getting ready to be sworn in. To the American people, this is flip-flopping in the political wind. Too much focus on climate change instead of supervision is consequential. And in March, just 2 years ago, we saw the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. SVB marked the third largest bank failure in U.S. history and the largest since the 2008 financial crisis. And yet not a single federal regulator was held to account. In fact, the FDIC filed a lawsuit against bank executives which accused the SVB of egregious mismanagement, and I agree. How is it that no bank supervisor has faced any consequences? With 30 MRAs and MRIAs that never had timely action at SVB. How can the people who are supposed to be our cops on the beat have not faced any recourse for such egregious failures? I simply don't understand. We must all address the fact that over the last 4 years, the Biden administration and Bidenomics have devastated, decimated, and destroyed hardworking families' ability to support themselves. During Joe Biden's time in office, overall prices rose by over 20%. Energy prices, 34%. Transportation costs, 31%. Groceries, 22%. But that's not all. Thanks to Bidenomics, 2/3 of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings accounts. But there is good news. Things are going to get better. During his first term, President Trump kept his promises to the American people. In the first 3 years of his presidency, President Trump built the most inclusive economy ever. 7 million jobs created, and 2/3 went to women, African Americans, and Hispanics. It's time to once again make America's economy work for the folks working paycheck to paycheck. Joe Biden broke our economy, and Donald Trump will fix it. For too long, bank regulators have followed a black box regulatory framework with little to no recourse. The FDIC, under President Trump's leadership, recently released never-before-seen supervisory documents which confirmed that Biden's Operation Choke Point 2.0 was real, despite assurances that these unacceptable practices would end following the Democrats' first Operation Choke Point 1.0. We are seeing an unfair playing field that results in disastrous consequences for legal businesses and law-abiding citizens. On one hand, if you were in the private sector and you do your job poorly, you would face consequences, reprimands, suspensions, or even being fired. But if you are within the walls of the federal government, such as a bank regulator, you will face no consequences for your actions, even if you pressure a bank to cut off services to digital asset firms, political figures, and conservative-aligned businesses and individuals. To me, that goes against the principles of fairness and market access. Over the last 2 years, as the ranking member of this committee, I have consistently argued that Basel III endgame proposal will raise costs and limit credit access for hardworking Americans. And while I'm glad this proposal was not finalized, The uncertainty surrounding Basel III forced banks to put capital on the sidelines, limiting access to that capital for local small businesses across our country. Now, as chairman, I plan to work to rectify the issues of the Biden administration. Chairman Powell, I look forward to hearing from you on the Federal Reserve's future and the plans that you have for right-sizing the financial regulatory framework, specifically around Basel III. To create jobs here in America, we need to make sure there's capital and liquidity in the market. And we also want all Americans, even those growing up in poverty like I did, to know that they can access the capital necessary to start new businesses, grow existing businesses, buy a home, and pursue their American dream. Chairman, I look forward to your comments and your testimony. I will simply say that I believe that weaponizing an independent agency like the Fed for liberal positions, from debanking crypto, bank stress test, and the green financing scheme, is not calling balls and strikes as a fair referee. And I hope that we are getting ready to clean that slate, start afresh, and focus on a healthy economy. Ranking Member Warren.